Welcome to the Oracle Scroll. My name is Kevin Walder and I am your host, and I invite you to join my guests and myself as we discuss all things metaphysical. Welcome to episode 23 of the Oracle Scroll. Today we're going to talk about the 20th card in the Major Arcana, the Judgment card. And then we're going to talk a little about spiritual gifts and how they should be acknowledged. Or could be acknowledged, I guess. Who's to say what should? And then we'll talk to Rachel about a situation with her employment and how she is going to move forward in the future. So, to begin with, let's just begin by taking a look at what I wrote about the Judgment card, number 20, in my book, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards. The Judgment card is a member of the Major Arcana family, and these cards tend to speak to the real reason of the question, and they carry a great deal of power in a consultation. Some readers and consultants feel that a reading which does not contain at least one Major Arcana card may not be a valid reading. So this card is actually extremely positive on many levels, rather than being fear-inspiring. The imagery in most decks will be one of an archangel with the trumpet and the bodies beginning to rise from the grave, giving us a scene inspired by the Book of Revelations, and thus the designation of this card as Judgment. The Judgment card is about rebirth, reinvention, re-emergence. This card is suggesting that nothing short of a rebirth is necessary for the growth and continued existence of the individual. It speaks of an ultimate makeover of the soul. The artwork for this card in the Robin Wood deck diverts from the traditional and shows a female figure rising from a fiery cauldron with the mythical phoenix rising behind her. This is an apt depiction of the level of rebirth and reinvention an individual must undertake to fulfill the meaning of this card. In the numerical lineup of the Major Arcana cards, the Judgment card is followed by the World, which speaks further about the rewards available to one who undertakes this dramatic rebirth. When I see the Judgment card appear in a reading, I am led to understand that no matter what the original question may have been, there is a much larger, more complete transformation taking place in the life of the querent. This card tells me that the querent is not just redecorating, but are undertaking a massive structural rebuild that is calling on all their resources to accomplish. This card tells me that the querent is so deeply involved with the exhilaration of their own progress that it is giving them the strength to continue this epic undertaking. This card speaks to us of purification. Having weathered the storm or passed through the fire, there's a new beginning, a new emergence for the individual. The Judgment card can indicate that one has been lost for a period. It can indicate that the individual has struggled mightily with identity and the passion and motivation to make life livable. This internal struggle is one that can follow us throughout an entire lifetime. The constant adjusting and realigning so that we are true to ourselves. I also find this card encourages us to develop a real relationship with the self. Learn to accept and embrace the self as we truly are, without change or adjustment. Developing this relationship with oneself is key to finding inner peace. It is also key to tapping into the inner passions and deepest motivations we possess. So, as with most of the cards, there are some questions at the end. And with the Judgment card, these questions are: how has the energy of the Judgment card manifested in your life? Are you currently experiencing a rebirth of your own? And finally, when faced with such a complete reinvention of yourself, where will you find your strength? And that is how I talked about the Judgment card in my book, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards. Available now at Amazon.com in both paperback and Kindle versions. So taking another step and another vision of the Judgment card, I've put together the next little interview. And it's basically going to allow the Judgment card to speak for itself. I am card number 20, Judgment, and I'm strongly associated with the resurrection story in the biblical book of Revelations. Several of us in the major arcana are portrayed as characters from Bible stories, and yeah, I'm one. The imagery with which I am most often associated gives a strong clue as to my energy. The central figure in most depictions is the Archangel Gabriel with his trumpet summoning the dead to rise from their graves and to face either judgment or reward for their human activities in life. As card number 20, I do not lay claim to being an archangel, but this imagery serves me very well as an intuitive trigger. There doesn't seem to be a real job description for archangels in the book of Revelations. They are simply charged with looking out for the human family in every aspect of their journey through life. So this particular job of calling forth the dead to live again, well, that seems to be a rather important job. It's important to note that according to the story, all are raised and allowed to make a case for their next phase of life. So my energy is truly impartial and inclusive. I am closely related to the planet Pluto, which is recognized as a ruler of the underworld. When the archangel steps into the scene and confidently begins to sound the trumpet, the underworld is obliged to release all the souls it holds within its dark confines. So, what is my energy all about then? How do I present myself as relevant in this life and not just a far-off future event? Are you aware that resurrection can take place well before death occurs? Well, that's the message I deliver in every consultation or meditation. My energy is here to encourage and facilitate your own rebirth and re-emergence whenever you accept that such a resurrection is needed. The earliest depictions of me include the archangel and the trumpet, while some more modern decks have sought to bring my meaning more current. One of my favorite variations, presented in the Robin Wood deck, shows a young woman seen rising from the fiery cauldron with the mythical phoenix behind her. This scene alludes to the fact that this rebirth may not be easy and may not be pain-free, but the reward is always going to be worthwhile. Each artist who designs a tarot deck chooses their own inspired portrayal to indicate my energy and my power. When one is stuck in a rut or simply feeling paralyzed by the fear of stepping into an unknown situation, these are the times that my energy comes shining through to encourage us to move on with the necessary changes, to bring new life to our efforts. When it's time to have a makeover on a grand scale, that's when my energy is there with you to indicate that what you may be missing is available immediately from the universe. Will you answer the call to step into your new? As you've already heard from many of my colleagues here in the Major Arcana, the energy any of us send is intended to help you with life's situations and challenges. And like all of them, my energy is great at assisting you in achieving any goal you may have, but the work of transformation is mostly yours to complete. Like the dead rising from their graves, I can only give them the spark of life to get moving, but the actual stepping into this new existence, that part is entirely up to them. When I show up in a consultation, I often find I am the bright spot in the layout, and my influence will most often change the direction of the consultation. I offer hope and inspiration when you find yourself starting at zero without a clear vision of your destination. My energy is one of reinvention and rejuvenation, and sometimes it can even feel like I'm being a little pushy when it comes to change. But my nature is gentle and nurturing as well. Can you imagine how one who has been granted new life after death might feel? Do you suppose this occasion might be one of boisterous celebration and joy? Imagine the scene as these fellow humans begin to reunite with their families and friends. This is the energy I bring to you, celebrating life, celebrating love, celebrating the glow of fulfillment as you accomplish what seemed impossible only yesterday. I'm especially helpful as a meditation tool, since so much of the transformation necessary begins inside of you and is a very personal endeavor. My energy can be invited in at any time during the process. Let me assist in removing the blocks which have kept you stuck for so long. Allow my energy to prompt a spontaneous reaction. So now, the question before you is, what have you been putting off for a very long time? What ambitious goal has always seemed just out of reach and maybe even requiring too much effort for you to accomplish? These are the very things that I've been sent to help you with. I'm here to help you locate your misplaced inspiration, your misplaced motivation, but you must be ready for my efforts to be successful. That's one thing for you to understand, is that I cannot do anything for you other than support and assist. The real transformation is coming from you, and I'm just helping guide you and show you the way. Please use this moment in time to appreciate and to embrace the life-changing energy I am sending your way. How can I help you clear old blockages and help you to establish new boundaries? Achieving your most cherished goals is important to both of us. We both have a stake in this game. So let's get to work together. Now. So with that, I'm really glad to have been able to share some information about my energy and myself. And I really hope that it will make working with my energy easier in the future. And I thank you again for listening in today. In the second segment of the Oracle Scroll, we take things that are of current interest and take a look at them from a spiritual standpoint to see if there's any way we can fit them in a more pleasant manner into our lives. Today, I'm talking about spiritual gifts. So, this is what I've had to say about that. I recently had a brief discussion with someone on the subject of spiritual gifts. My friend was very adamant that spiritual gifts are just that, and that certain individuals are born with them and most of us aren't. Well, my own feeling is that we're all born with the capacity for any gift that we choose to develop. And we went back and forth for a while on the subject, with neither of us swaying the other from our original opinions. I started to think about my own belief in this regard, and I wanted to share my thoughts on the subject. My own experience seems to support my belief in that for the first 20 years of my life, I was strictly forbidden to explore my psychic side. But when I began to look into spirituality, it became apparent that, I could grow, and I could even grow that aspect of myself. I think of it this way. When we are born, it's as if we enter a large room that is filled with doors. Doors of all sizes, doors of all shapes and colors. Some doors will reveal a light emanating from behind. Others may allow us to hear an intriguing sound or music from the other side. All of the doors are available to us as a newborn child, but not all will be opened, and not all will be explored. While all the doors are available, some will be closed, while others may be standing ajar, slightly or wide open. The doors which are open are those belonging to a parent or a grandparent with a particular spiritual gift that they wish to pass along, to impart to the next generation. In this sense, some people are born with a particular gift by way of inheritance. But it's still up to them to develop the gift so that it is usable and beneficial to those around them. Now, in this room, I'm imagining that there are more doors available than any one lifetime could possibly explore thoroughly. So it's now up to the individual to determine which of them will deserve their attention, which of them deserves their effort. It's truly up to the free will of the individual as to which of the gifts are being developed and which are left for others. Even those gifts which are inherited will sometimes be rejected until the time is right in the life path of the individual. And environment plays a big role there too. If one is being persistently discouraged from using your spiritual gifts, that will cause those to be pushed aside and perhaps unexplored. When you think about your own spiritual gifts, did they seem to come to you effortlessly, or was there a little study involved? Do you have spiritual gifts which are not being used fully at this time? I am of the opinion that we all do, but I'll leave the question. How do you determine which spiritual gifts will be most beneficial to those around you? So that's what I had to say about our spiritual gifts. I'd love to leave it open for discussion. If you have a comment on what I've said here, please send it along to theoraclescroll@gmail.com. Thank you. In the third and final segment of the Oracle Scroll, we take a question from an audience member and draw cards to see if we can provide some guidance. So today we have a question from Rachel. Rachel writes, I am being offered a new position, which in many ways could be my dream job. But I have such emotional ties to my current position that I am really feeling conflicted about this. Well, thank you, Rachel, for your question. I drew 3 cards for you, and they are the Death card, the King of Cups, and the Ace of Swords. So let's jump right into the first card. It's a big one. It's the Death card, and it's the real power of this reading and strongly indicates that this new position has been a long time coming. The Death card says that it is time to clean house. It's time to let go of something or things which have always seemed so very important. When the garden is overcrowded, it's necessary to clear a place for new plantings or new growth. The new will not show up until there's a space and a place in which it can flourish. So the second card, the King of Cups, alludes to that emotional connection you have to your current position. The kings are authority figures who make the rules, and they're not afraid of enforcing them. So this card is telling you to become more proactive where your emotions are concerned. Think for a moment about your tenure at your current position and ask yourself, do I have autonomy in any area, or am I at the whim of management? Another pertinent question would be, how long will it take to replace me? That's a big one. The king is here to say that you need to take charge of your position and recognize your value. It's time to set your own boundaries and accept absolutely nothing less as you proceed into your future. The third card, the Ace of Swords, speaks to your conscious thought and thinking, your reasoning, your powers of discernment. The short interpretation of this card is it's time to change your mind. And that's a big job for any of us, believe me. We all have a tendency to get stuck in routines which allow for very little deviation, and this card says that it's time to reconsider the comfort of your routines and contemplate the adventure awaiting you outside that comfort zone. So, in summary, I first of all fully understand your conflicted feelings. In such situations, we tend to cling to the familiar even when it's choking out the creativity necessary to advance and to grow, and even just to keep living productively. The advice here is to let go of the familiar, free yourself so that you're able to grab the next opportunity. It's time to look forward and understand that the past does not portend your future. What was once a very positive place for you to live and work is now standing in the way of your future happiness. It's time for you to begin to make your own decisions and not be satisfied with what others might allow you. You need to establish your own boundaries. Be fully prepared to enforce them No one can perform this task for you. It's time for you to sample the sweet taste of making your own decisions and exercising your autonomy. All of this will require some rewiring of your thought process. Some of the things you have always considered to be your strong points are the very things that are holding you back right now. And that's a tough realization. Finally, it's time to step out of that blinding fog of fear, and that's what it really boils down to. It's fear. Step into the light of growth and advancement. Remember, nothing will ever happen in our comfort zones. That's why they're so comfortable. It's quiet. It's wonderful. But nothing ever happens there. Step outside that routine and step into your future. So Rachel, first of all, I thank you for your question. I hope that what we've said here is helpful in some way. It's pretty straightforward. It's up to you, but there's a lot of work to be done. And if you, as an audience member, I should say, would like to have a question answered on the podcast, please forward it to us at theoraclescroll@gmail.com. So, we're here at the end of episode 23, and we want to thank you for joining us for this episode. The Oracle Scroll is now available on many of your favorite platforms. Please get in there and subscribe today. Find us on YouTube. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. Who knows where we'll show up next? And did you know that you can help the Oracle Scroll stay on the air and earn some attractive bonuses for yourself at the same time? Please visit our Patreon page to learn how. That is Patreon, patreon.com/Kevin Walder. And a link will be provided at the bottom of this episode in the notes that accompany the audio presentation. Please, if you have questions, comments, requests, anything at all that you would like to see us do or have added into the Oracle Scroll, please forward that to theoraclescroll@gmail.com. And probably most of all, please share your experience with your friends and your family, anyone at all who might enjoy what we do here at the Oracle Scroll. Help us build our audience. And links, as always, to all the contact options are listed in the episode notes that accompany this audio presentation. So once again, at the end of this episode 23, I want to thank you all for joining us. We've enjoyed putting these together, and we certainly are having fun with it, and we'd like to have more people join with us. So thanks again. We'll see you next episode. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. Find us on Facebook at the Oracle Scroll. If you wish to send comments, suggestions, or requests, please address them to theoraclescroll@gmail.com.